guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, Hold On. Did you miss the part where you are in my driveway? Apologies in advance. I'm not sure this is the right sub because technically, I do work where this happened, and technically, this person never explicitly said that I worked there. But either way, I'm definitely not a GPS. I live right between a town that has several major-ish roads and a town that, once a year, hosts a regionally major-ish fair. Animals, tractor pulls, smashy cars, live music, and fried everything, etc. My road connects the two parallel roads that join the two towns, so it's the start of a magical week full of idiots trying to find a non-existent shortcut and dumping their trash at the end of my driveway. First day of the fair, meaning tomorrow, is when I'll find the traditional Chinese takeout box filled with urine and 6 spit bottles. I'm venting my rage at an old tree stump by my driveway when, lol and behold, an intrepid, middle-aged seeker of the Northwest Passage sails towards me in a particularly crappy Ford Ranger. Idiot. Hi. Me. Still swinging my axe. If you're going to the fair, this isn't the road you're looking for. You should head back. ID. No one ever tell you should look at people when you're talking to them? Me. Realizes he's one of those types and takes a break. Nope. If you're going to the fair, this isn't the road. ID. Okay. So how do I get there? Me. You should probably go back the way you came and get back in line. ID. Nah, I was already there. I mean more like a shortcut. You, do live here? So you know where those are? Me. Oh, thought one. Yeah. You want to turn the other way out of the driveway. There'll be another line of cars. Get into it. ID. Wait. What? No, I was already there. I mean a faster way to get to the fair. Me. Look, friend, there are 2 exits off this road. Pick one. Get in line, you'll get to the fair. ID. Wow. What's your problem? You're not very helpful. Me. It's not my job to help you. I told you what you need, now please leave me alone. ID. Excuse me? I just want some information. Why can't you just help me? Me. I did. Or what do you want me to do, rearrange a road for you? ID. You can't talk to me like that. Me. Why not? I don't know you, and I don't want to. Get out of here. ID. What did you just say to me? I'm just asking you for help. Me. And I told you what you need to know. Kindly, go away. I'm. ID. What the heck, did you just? Me. Hold on, did you miss the part where you are in my driveway? I'm not the fair's help desk, and I definitely don't owe you any favors. Go away. I don't know if it was what I said, the fact that I was slowly losing my temper and still holding an axe, or the siren song of Confederate flags and bacon-wrapped Oreos calling him, but that's when the spell broke. The idiot proceeded to gawk at me, then threw his truck into reverse and went tearing back up the driveway. He almost lost it and would have hit the edge of the fence if someone else hadn't taken it out the preceding year. Something tells me it would have been my fault for leaving a tree somewhere he could have hit it, so I almost wish he had clipped something just to see what would have happened next. And sure, maybe I was a little too hostile at first, but expecting good customer service from random strangers is probably a bit much. Either way, I've since acquired a no trespassing sign. The next story is titled Your Yard is Now Our Park. My partner and I purchased the house next door to my best friend. I had lived with him for close to a decade when his kids were babies, so they viewed my house as an extension of theirs, and were in and out all day, every day. I have a more flexible schedule than he and his wife, so I have them in the mornings, after school, and on days off of school. I had a pool in my yard, and because my friend's kids were still little, I installed a retractable cover and made sure it was locked so they couldn't open it. My friend's yard had one of those wood fort, climbing wall, swing set deals and a large sandbox. Throughout the year, we spent most evenings outside, grilling, drinking, and watching the kids play, swim, whatever. One summer day, I came home from work a little earlier than normal, and started to prep for dinner. I heard a knock at my back door, which was odd, since my buddy's kids never knocked. I went to see who it was and discovered a mom and 2 kids who looked to be maybe 5 to 7 years old. As I opened the door, she informed me that her kids needed to use the bathroom and that I needed to come out and get the cover off my pool. I was confused and asked her to repeat herself, and she said that her kids needed to pee and that they were hot and bored with playing in the sandbox, so I needed to open up my pool. I asked her why she was in my friend's yard and what made her think her kids were welcome to swim in my pool, or use my bathroom for that matter. She got really idiot and told me that she had moved into the house behind us and that she had watched my buddy's kids come over all the time and I opened the pool for them. She insisted that since I was willing to open my pool for the kids next door, I should also open it for the children who lived behind me. I tried explaining the relationship between my best friend's family and mine. She claimed it didn't matter that I had known them since birth and pretty much had helped raise them. I just needed to get to know her kids too and it would be okay. I told her no and closed the door on her. She spent a while knocking and fussing at me through the window, and then had her kids pee in a planter on the side of the patio. When I still didn't react, she took her kids back into my friend's yard to play on the swings. I texted him to let him know what was going on. Right at the moment he was letting his 300+ pounds worth of newfies out into the yard without noticing the unwelcome visitors. The mom starts shrieking and climbs up into the fort, leaving both kids on the swings. She starts demanding that we put the dogs inside and how dare my friend let his dogs out into his own yard when her kids are clearly playing there. He tells her to GTFO and calls the police. When the cops arrived, she put on the whole waterworks about how her kids are just looking for friends, and my buddy's kids are somehow bullying her kids, even though they'd never met. That he invited her over just to let his dogs attack her children, blah blah blah. They eventually move her back onto her own property, then come back later to tell us they warned her about coming back. She lived in that house for almost a year before she and her husband divorced. During that year, I had to replace the lock over the pool cover controls 3 times, have a fencing company remove a gate at the back of my property that was meant to let the lawnmower through, and eventually pay a security company to come check on the yard any time we were going to be away for more than a few hours. We found her and her kids in our yards repeatedly, but she'd leave when we got home. What finally resolved the issue was my partner catching her in the pool. She told him she knew the man that owned the house and that he had told her it was okay to swim. He told her he was married to the man that owned the pool and that it's not okay to swim. She apparently had a bad reaction to realizing she was immersing her sons in gay water. We didn't see her again after that. The next story is entitled Neighbor Thinks Her Cats Are Now Everyone's Cats. This happened a few months ago but is still just baffling to me. I live in a 20-story high-rise with around 15-ish units on each floor, so a pretty big building. I also live in a major city that, like many others, is in the middle of a housing crisis, so this place is packed to the gills with people and is super high traffic in common areas on a good day. We're also right downtown, so rent is absolutely astronomical in here on top of everything. I came out of my apartment one day and heard someone shout over to me from the elevator area. I looked up to see who it was and didn't recognize the person, so I figured she must be a new tenant that moved in recently. I asked how I could help and the woman motions to the opposite end of the hall and said something along the lines of, "Hey, can you please make sure my cats don't get into your apartment or the elevator?" I looked down the hall and saw 2 super cute orange cats who looked pretty young, maybe less than a year old, hanging out in the hallway. I immediately assumed, like any normal person would, that they must have made a run for it when the door was open, as can happen with pets sometimes in any building, and she was just in the process of corralling them back into her unit. Of course, I agreed, gave the little guys some quick pets. I asked if that was okay first, after I locked my door and went over to the elevator to leave. When I got a bit closer, I noticed the woman was taping a sign up above the elevator button saying, "Please do not let the orange cats onto the elevator." So I made a comment about how my pets can be cheeky little escape artists too sometimes, but we got to love them. She then said something that confused the hell out of me. "Oh no, they didn't escape. I just live in one of the smaller units and they seem to be getting bored inside my apartment, so I'm just going to prop my door open whenever I'm home and let them hang out and explore out here. They're really cute, everyone will love them. I'm just putting the sign up to make sure nobody lets them into the elevator. As long as people just shoot them out of the elevator, it will be fine." I'm standing there silent, trying to process if what I heard was correct, because who in their right mind would think they can just let their 2 cats casually hang out in a high-traffic apartment hallway, in a dog-friendly building no less, every day? Not to mention the fact that we live in one of the highest crime cities in my country and she's cool just chilling all day with her door propped wide open. She must have noticed the confused look on my face and added, "Don't worry. This sign I made here is only temporary. I'm just going to ask building management to print up a proper one with the building's letterhead. I'm sure they won't mind. The property manager is so nice. At this point I'm still at a ducking loss and decide not to engage. So, I just smile and nod and wish her a good day, hoping this crap will sort itself out. Don't get me wrong, I love cats. Even though I'm allergic, I have 2 of my own and they're my babies. If were up to me, I would be surrounded by cats at all times. But it would never for 1 second occur to me that it would just be okay to expect literally dozens of strangers to suddenly be responsible for my unsupervised pets all day. Every day because they are too bored at my house. Putting aside for the moment that not everyone is okay with having animals around and some people are allergic, the safety issues of every other apartment in this place having a dog and the fact that 2 near kittens could very easily disappear into an apartment, elevator or stairwell at any given moment in a place where there are no hallway security cameras sounds like a recipe for an absolute ducking disaster. This woman was 100% truly convinced that our large corporate property management company would have 0 issues with this, to the point that they would be setting up official paperwork to inform all of us that these pets are now the entire floor's responsibility. She was telling me all this so casually you would think she was talking about the weather. The handwritten sign was gone by the time I got home that day, and I have never seen or heard from that woman or her cats ever again, so I have absolutely no idea what happened. But I can only imagine that when she did call the property management company, she was laughed the hell out of there. I wish I would have been there to see management's reaction. The next story is entitled Child Destroys My Property and Threatens to Evict Me with entitled Mother. For context, my childhood was spent growing up in Dubai in a villa compound, which is basically like a mini-gated community of 16-odd villa homes that each have a private back garden that then converges in a large shared space with a pool, social area, foliage, etc. Now as a result of this, everyone got to know their neighbors very well due to the shared social space, and as most homes had kids, we'd all play together in the pool. Now there was a particular family with 2 very entitled children who we shall call Anna and Francis, not actual names, who must have been about 9. These little turds were well known for causing trouble in the community and generally being extremely entitled. One story that sticks out most to me is the following, which I hope you enjoy. One afternoon, my younger brother runs into our house having been playing in a group with some other kids and Anna and Francis, very frustrated. He announces to me that Anna and Francis are currently in our private back garden ripping the heads off of our flowers. I of course go outside to find the 2 gremlins, ripping apart plants and kicking our hedges in whilst being supervised by their nanny, who spoke very little English. Me, what do you think you're doing? Anna, duck you, we can do what we want. Me, stop that and get out of our garden. The nanny just stood there with a vacant expression on her face, so I walk up to her, as the kids continue to destroy our garden. Me, excuse me, aren't you going to do something, nanny? No, they do what they want till dinner. Me, this is our garden, can you make them leave please? This time no response besides vacant blinking. So naturally, my younger brother and I turn to the gremlins and very firmly tell them, stop and get out now, and start to usher them towards the exit. This is when Anna drops some big threats. Anna, my mother owns this whole compound. We own your house a whole. They had colorful language for children their age. Me, she really doesn't. Now get out, Anna. We own your house, we can break anything we want. We can do anything you want. We'll get you kicked out. At this point, we've pushed them out, followed meekly by their nanny, and locked the garden gate. On the other side they hurl obscenities and eventually run off to find their entitled mother. I'm told by my own mum that she had a heated conversation with the M, who in fact did not own the compound, nor our house, but was very displeased that her children's fun was interrupted by my brother and I. Apparently we have no right to upset or interfere in matters involving her children, and we would do well to keep our business to ourselves or the landlord would be called. Suffice to say my mum was not having any of it, and asked politely that her children don't invite themselves into our garden and don't destroy our property, which was in fact grounds to involve the landlord. The M left in a huff and we didn't hear from them for a couple of weeks, thankfully. But it wouldn't be long before we crossed paths with their BS again. If you enjoyed this one, I have plenty more tales from the compound, involving entitled parents and kids. As I'm sure you've guessed, Dubai does tend to have some rather entitled people in it, although I did love my time there. The next story is entitled Child Punches My Head, Shoots Paintballs into My Property, whilst entitled Father Tells Me Off and Revs His Ferrari at 5 a.m. Today I'm not going to be talking about Anna, Francis and their entitled mother. Instead, it's time to talk about another family, my next-door neighbors, more specifically an entitled father and his 10-year-old son, who we'll call Simon. I honestly chose not to interact with my neighbors as little as possible, so this post is more a collection of mini-stories of them that I've compiled to paint you guys a full picture of their entitledness. I grew up next to a mosque, and some might find the muezzin singing a call to prayer every morning and every night through a loudspeaker to be bothersome, or disturbing to their sleep pattern. I however quite enjoyed listening to it, but what I didn't enjoy listening to was my neighbor, entitled father revving his black Ferraris engine, first thing in the morning and last thing before night. Entitled father rarely drove his gorgeous black Ferrari, but in order to keep the engine turning over and stop sand settling inside it, every day and night without fail he'd reverend the engine as loud as he could for 10 minutes with a fat cigar hanging from his mouth. He would also have a very young, assumably very poor teenager cycle over every single evening and clean the car from top to bottom over the course of an hour, even when EF was away on business. EF would also have his maids, nannies set up his entire back garden social area with pillows, candles, trays of cigars and flowers before it was even light outside, and we quite literally never saw him use it. But one person we did see use that back garden was Simon. Because Simon had a paintball gun, and Simon loved to fire off rounds into other people's property, and Simon loved to make his nannies clean up the paintball mess in his own garden as he cackled maniacally. But the paintballs aren't the worst memory of Simon. On his 9th birthday, Simon had a WWE party to which I was invited, and this kid was truly a fanatic. His bouncy castle was WWE themed, the decorations and cake all depicted John Cena and The Undertaker, and his WWE toys littered his garden. About 40 kids were in attendance, the parents smoked and drank whilst the nannies and maids catered for the children. I only popped round for cake as my own parents suggested it'd be polite and they knew I'd rather smell what the Rock's cooking, than spend longer than 10 minutes with Simon. I sort of got my wish, because no sooner than I'd arrived, I was invited to enter the bouncy house for a WWE wrestling match with the birthday boy. He'd beaten every other boy at this party and was keen for a new challenger, and since I was a year older than him, he was certain my defeat would win him the belt. So I entered the ring, hoping there'd be some cake for me at the end of it. This was when I discovered that Simon had no idea what wrestling was, as he ran at me and began to punch my head with the ferocity of a feral raccoon. Punch after punch, kick after kick connected with my head and groin for all of 5 seconds before I pushed him off, and he stumbled back and tripped over his own feet on the uneven bouncy surface. This resulted in him bashing his glasses and face on the floor, and into his nose, eye area where it looked like it was bruising. Of course he burst into tears and ran to entitled father, who he told I'd punched him in the face and tried to kick in his glasses whilst he was down, when he was simply bouncing on the bouncy castle. I was rightfully so, berated by entitled father for my violent tendencies and the fact I'd ruined his son's birthday and possibly his face and that I should leave at once. Without cake. Considering my own parents weren't present, I didn't know any of the kids there, and I'd been at the party for maybe 2 minutes tops, I saw no point in debating and welcomed the opportunity to return to my home for some Minecraft. Thanks for sticking around for another longer Tales from the Compound. Hope you enjoyed hearing about some different characters, and as always let me know if you want to hear more. I'm sitting one story in particular, a story that I think knocks all the others out of the park, but IDK if y'all are ready for that yet. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.